People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, the podcast world is kind of like the magic world. Once you dive in deep, everyone kind of knows each other. If not directly, but a friend of a friend. I belong to several online groups to pitch yourself to podcasts and try to look for guests. Today's guest sent her information as a potential guest on one of those, and upon reading, I realized that she lived about an hour from me. Long story short, we booked her, and here she is. She's a homeschool mom of 3, a blogger, an author, an illustrator, and much more. Everybody, it's Leah Stine. What's happening, girl? How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
We are rocking and rolling. Things are actually turning around. I think the last podcast I had the blues, and I was saying, "Oh, we don't have any shows, and I'm just sick of this." And then the phone started ringing, and I think we're going to have a normal summer this year, so I'm excited.
Almost normal, I think. So
Almost normal.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Much better than the past 2 years, so can't complain.
That's awesome.
Yes.
It's great.
How's things with you?
Good. We just got our HVAC replaced after a couple months running on emergency heat. So that's like the highlight of my week.
Nice.
How does emergency heat work? I don't know. Do we have emergency heat on ours?
It doesn't run the outside unit, so it only runs the inside unit. But it's like these heat strips, and your electric bill doubles when you use it.
Oh goodness.
Yeah,
So
I bet you're celebrating in a couple different ways then.
Right? Yeah, I'm thrilled.
And it's nice and warm. Your toes. Can you feel your toes now?
Yeah, yesterday, my kids went wrestling in Newport News with my husband, and I turned the heat up to like 70. I was like, I'm just cranking it up because I want to.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
For no reason.
So
Yeah.
as a homeschool mom, let's start with the homeschooling thing. Like us, you're not doing it for political or religious reasons. Can you tell everybody why you chose to homeschool?
Yeah, actually, I had no intentions of homeschooling. I was like, that's for those crazy, unsocialized people. And my oldest son, he was in a preschool and everything, and then I was taking him to the doctor to go get his shots and his records and everything for his kindergarten year. He had even went to the school and did the tour and everything. And I'm filling out the paperwork, and I called my husband, and I'm like, I can't do this. And he said, what do you mean? I was like, well, you work all the time. He's a chef, so he works pretty much, well, at that point in time, he was working probably 16-hour days, 6 days a week,
Wow.
sometimes 7 days a week. So the only time they got to see him was in those moments that he was home. And if they were at school, they would never get to see him. I mean, he never had a weekend off because he worked in the resort area. So holidays were out, weekends were out. So the only time we had was like random days in the middle of the week. I was like, I can't do this because, daddy time is so precious to them.
Yeah.
So that's why we started, and here we are 8 years later.
Oh, that's sweet. I like that reasoning. And now you've totally changed your mind, right? We're not all just unsocialized people, huh?
No, I mean, there's a select few, but that's my choice.
I think that's, I think that's everywhere, but...
You have that in regular school too, though.
I was about to say
Absolutely.
that too. I was exactly just about to say that. You have that everywhere.
And I've had conversations with people where I'm like, homeschool kids, they may have some awkward moments just like any other kids. I said, but the difference between them and kids that go to regular school is that they're willing to play and engage with all age groups. So,
Right.
like when we go to the the different the Reach homeschool activities, Lana's like, I made a friend and she's a teenager. And I was like, oh, that's awesome, And then she's also going and playing with kids that are younger than her and older than her and her age. And I'm just like, this is great. I think it's wonderful that they don't mind stepping out of that comfort zone of being in your own age, where it's not, anyone's fault just in public school. That's who you're with all the time. So that makes you comfortable with just your own age. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I always thought that was
completely
neat.
agree. No, I see that in my kids all the time. And even with and with adults too. Like they could go and talk to adults just like they were their friend.
Right.
There's
Yes.
no hesitation. There's no discomfort. I mean, in a regular setting, they could go and have a conversation with any adult and not feel weird about it.
Yes. Yeah. That's one thing I've really liked seeing since homeschooling, because I mean, neither one of us were planning on ever homeschooling either. We both grew up in public schools, and that's what I always imagined my kids doing. But with our lifestyle and how often we're normally gone when it's non-COVID, we'd never see our kids. So yeah,
right,
it's
exactly.
worked out
And
great.
there are problems with homeschooling. Just like with public school, there's the demand and the stuff that should happen around the house might not happen,
Right.
because the kids are home all day, every day.
Yes.
So the house is messier. They take more things out. They get into more stuff. So that's frustrating. But at the same time, if we were in public school, we'd have different problems. It wouldn't be the same kind of problems.
Right.
We're recording this today on Valentine's Day, so it's going to go out in a couple days.
16th.
But my little girl had a whole, not a breakdown, but she was very adamant and trying to finagle the system today because it's Valentine's Day. You don't have to do school on Valentine's Day. It's a holiday.
And I was telling her, I don't think so, honey. All the kids that live on this street, we have 5 houses on our street. We're out in the country, so we have space between all the houses. I'm like, but all the kids that that live on our street are all at school today. But they get up early so that they can hang out. I was like, no, they get up early so that they can catch an early bus, spend all day at school, come home around 4. Parents get home around 5 or 6. They have dinner, do their homework, and then they go to bed.
Yeah.
Repeat the next day. I said, you're lucky.
you.
You only have, at this point, she's around 2 to 2.5 hours of actual sitting down doing school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, you're lucky. You don't have to be in school for 8 hours. Just 2.5 a day. Count your blessings, honey.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we only do school 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And the fifth day is normally the goal is to make it a fun day for the activities that we don't always get to do, like harmonica lessons that the boys wanted to do, and science experiments that we don't necessarily always have the time for because they don't really go along with what we're doing in school.
Uh-huh.
So, that's what we actually did today, because they had a really long weekend wrestling. They wrestled Saturday and Sunday, so they're just pretty tired. So I was like, let's just have a fun day.
Yeah, that's always nice.
And that's cool. So when we have shows, like we had a show near Jamestown, and we just took the rest of the day and just went to Jamestown.
Yeah.
And made it, a field trip. That's what's so cool about this,
Oh, there's so many opportunities. Once spring hits, we're probably going to end up taking off at least a week just to enjoy the nature and the things that are blooming. But it's not like we're taking off completely, because we'll be outside. We'll be looking at the birds. We'll be looking at the different things coming up. My son loves entomology, so he will be finding all the bugs and seeing what's out there.
Still learning,
So
even though you're
different.
having fun. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
That's perfect. And you get to travel so much more. I mean, Lana's done more traveling in her 10 years than I did before I was 30. I don't know. So, I mean, I think it's awesome. All the places she gets to go, and now our boys too, once, they're older and can realize what's going on.
Yeah.
She's went
I don't
to
get to travel
Mexico
much.
and Vegas and
Yeah.
Maryland and Florida and Nashville and name it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's more places than I've ever been.
Nah. So
I'd like to travel, but we just don't have the bandwidth. I mean, we have chickens and dogs and cat and fish tanks and a snake. So that's a lot to maintain while we're gone.
We have quite a few animals with magic shows and all, but we have some awesome neighbors that don't mind popping over and taking care of them for us. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
the dog goes on the road with us.
The dog does go on the road with us. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So with 2 in school, we don't have 2 in school yet. How's that going? Was that a big change, or is it kind of?
That wasn't bad. I say it wasn't bad, but I remember now back when my middle was just getting into school, he was constantly disruptive. He would climb all over the stuff and talk while Zachary was trying to do his work, and, it's chaos. because he was young. He was 4 or 5 years old, and it was just tough. I'm a little concerned about when the toddler starts wanting to be involved, because she's going to be chaos. I can just tell now. But, I think that they'll be a little older at that point. I mean, she's only 18 months, so by the time she joins, I'm hoping that they are doing way more independent work.
Right.
So that I'm not, constantly juggling all of them.
Yes. Yeah.
Our
But it wasn't too bad.
Our babysitter that's with us, Natalie's niece, she 90% lives with us now, and she's doing her senior year, and it's all on her. We don't help her at all. We don't look over her stuff. There's nothing for us to do. So that's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's on her. I mean, she reads the books and she answers the question and watches the videos and answers the question, and she's done. So
nice.
Yeah.
My oldest, he decided that he wanted to do math online. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So he's been doing that for a couple weeks now, and so far so good.
Awesome.
So maybe he'll want to do more subjects online too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing is, I saw I put that thing out online that we're looking for guests, and you wrote in, and then I realized you're close by. Then I realized that you'd seen my show at that Fredericksburg thing, and that's before we really started going there. I just worked there that once.
The homeschool group.
Yeah, and the Reach homeschool group in Fredericksburg. Then I started teaching there, and now your son's in my class. What does he come home? Does he say how cool I am, or?
He loves the class. He loves it.
Good. I like to hear that.
He has big plans with all your coding things and all the stuff. He has a friend in Virginia Beach that he's going to be coding with.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
Sending secret letters.
Well, he's in the spy magic class, so
yeah.
So he's learning all kinds of stuff.
He loves it.
Awesome. So let's introduce everybody to what you actually do for a living. You're a homeschool mom, and that's a full-time job in its own. But you also are a blogger, and you help out podcasts. Tell everybody about all that.
So I write podcast episode blog posts. Some people don't even know what that is, or that's even a thing. But there are people out there who have podcasts, and they have businesses that are related to their podcast. Most of them are self-help, self-development, coaching, things like that, where they want to reach as many people as they can with their content. They want to drive people to their website. They want to have repurposing content available for social media that they can use. So I write those blogs to help them with that. I write SEO blogs, and I also do show notes as well, which is good because I can help pull different quotes. A lot of people write their own show notes, but sometimes they don't hear the quotes that are good because they said it, so they kind of miss it. I feel like a lot of times there's extra quotes that I hear, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that one," that they can use on social media and things like that to draw people to their podcast. So that is what I do.
And how long have you been doing that?
Actually, I just relaunched my business in August, so I haven't been doing this that long. I've been writing pretty much my whole life, but before this, I was doing marketing for real estate agents, newsletters, blog posts, postcards, things like that. But it wasn't what I really loved to do, so I decided it was time to switch my focus.
So do you do these blogs like weekly, or however, do you do it for each of the podcasts that they do, or how does that work? How often do you do it?
It depends on what the client wants. Most times if they depending on how many podcasts a month they do, they'll just do them all, like a package deal, like 4, like let's say they have a podcast every week, they would do 4 a month.
Okay.
And they would just send it to me about a week, like as soon as they record it, they'd send it to me. I'd write it so that they could post it all out at the same time.
Oh, cool. Very cool. And
if someone has a podcast, they're listening to this and wants you to help them out, they can go to leahstine.com.
Yep. Stine. Everybody spells it wrong, so just want to...
Oh,
yeah.
That's
no,
all right.
I would see how that would happen.
Yeah, it happens all the time. My husband, it's been his name his whole life, and he still doesn't spell it when he says it. I'm like, you should probably do that. He gets mad that somebody spelled it wrong. I'm like, well, everybody spells it wrong.
Yeah, that's funny.
So you're not doing a transcript though. It's definitely a blog post. Just
right. because the transcript is just exactly what you say. Most transcripts need edited when you go in to, take out things that didn't really transcribe right. But nobody really reads the transcript because it's long-winded, it's very repetitive. So how I do it is I actually listen to the whole podcast, and I take notes as I go. I kind of make an outline, because there's a lot of times where somebody will talk about something, and then they'll loop back to it later in the podcast, but it gets kind of lost if it's not bumped back with it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'd put the topics together rather than like a transcript where you're just reading exactly what it was said.
Okay. And you kind of give an overview of what that podcast was and kind of pump it up to make it sound good?
No, I just take the content and I reword it so that it makes sense. So it's a standalone article. So, like, if I'm, let's say, okay, let me start from the beginning here. So
okay.
where I came up with the idea was I was listening to podcasts, and I kept getting interrupted by the kids all the time, because 3 kids, they just talk all the time.
Right.
So the only time I was able to listen to them is when I'm driving home from dropping them off at wrestling. And that'll probably end soon once the baby starts being more, verbal. So I was like, I wish I had this content. And I would click and I would find that, oh, this person does have a blog. That's great. I can read the content instead of trying to listen to it. And then I got frustrated because there was not as many people out there that did it that I would like. Or they'd have blogs, but they weren't about the podcast episode when I really wanted that same information. So that's where my idea was born, out of the frustration of not having it available to me when I wanted it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, have you had any podcasts that you didn't want to have to listen to and you had to transcribe? Not transcribe, but blog, blog about?
Not yet.
Okay.
I really haven't. I'm pretty open, but I'm more geared toward the self-help and the development aspect of things, because I feel like there are so many people out there that need that mindset help and the just that extra push, I guess you could say. And sometimes they just can't find it. But they find a podcast they love, but then they're like, man, where do I go from here? And they can't access the information if they only have time to read it.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I asked that question was because at Halloween, we were wallpapering our RV. And we were trying to find, like, a scary story or a ghost story podcast. And boy, some of them were just like, I just wanted to reach through the thing and shake the people and wake them up and say, you're not entertaining. You're not telling a story. We don't... Holy crap, wow. Get on with it. Well,
we don't care about what you had for dinner last night. We want to hear the scary story.
Right. It was like pulling teeth, and we went through like 4 of them and we gave up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, a lot of the basic, like when I write the blogs, if there's a lot of like conversational stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with the topic, I just don't put that in.
Yeah.
Because it's not relevant to what the episode's actually about. Yeah. And that's also a difference between a transcription and a blog post, is you're going to cut all that conversational stuff out. I mean, some of it you need, but some of it, like what you had for breakfast, is pretty irrelevant.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
it seemed like they had 5 minutes of stories, and they had to fill the other 55 minutes with BS, so, yeah. I don't know.
That's a lot of wasted time.
Yeah.
So do you have a whole list of clients? Are you still looking for more, or are you pretty busy, or how's that for you?
Well, since I'm still growing, I am definitely looking for more. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, though, so I only have openings for about probably 4 or 5 more clients.
Okay.
Awesome. And that is leahstine.com. LeahStine.com. Yep. So.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook under Leah Stine Writing.
Awesome. So you also wrote a children's book a while back. Tell me about that.
I wrote a book about a boy and his butterfly. It's about a monarch butterfly from egg to butterfly and the life cycle. That was actually inspired by our homeschooling, because every year we had a butterfly garden out front, and every year we'd collect the eggs and watch the whole process, because
nice.
monarchs are, very important, and they are endangered, and so it's very important to try to make them available as much as possible. And we had a lot of wasps and stuff around that would eat the caterpillars really quickly, so we would try to protect them as much as possible. And that's where the story was born from. And the character is based off of my kids, the boys. And the name is a combination of their names, so it's kind of neat. Zayden, Zachary, and Caden. And I illustrated it with a friend of mine. She did the watercolor stuff, and I did the acrylic paint. And it's available on Amazon.
Very cool. And what's it called again? What's the title?
A Boy and His Butterfly.
A Boy and His Butterfly. That seems really sweet. I like it.
Thank you. I'm in the works of my next one, which is going to be a girl and her earthworm.
Oh, cute. Is it going to have your daughter's name?
Yeah, actually, it's going to have... So, when we were naming her, we couldn't decide on River Willow or River Marie. And we decided on River Marie, but the boys still wanted her to be named Willow, so that's going to be the character's name.
Ah, perfect. That's awesome.
So it still gets used.
Yeah. That's sweet. I like it.
And that's coming out on Amazon soon?
It's on Amazon now.
Oh!
No, not the earthworm one. Sorry. Nope, I'm lying. I have not finished that one yet. I just haven't dug in. I have it mostly written. I just got some finalizing to do, and I have to do all the art.
Awesome.
So I'm not sure when that's going to be out yet.
Yeah.
Well, how'd you like illustrating your own book?
It was fun. Me and my friend just sat around, and one night we just sat and painted all the paintings, and then I just scanned them and uploaded them, and ta-da!
Wow. I have a buddy of mine that I went to high school with that was awesome at art, and then he ended up being an art teacher at Virginia Tech, and now he's like the head of the art division or art wing at Virginia Tech.
Oh, awesome.
And he did the illustrations for ours. I'm like, yep, I'll let you do that, not me.
Yeah, Lana had a project recently in school to write a children's book, her own children's book. So they're like, 3 to 5 sentences per page, and then, you have to have so many pages, and you have to have at least 4 pictures. And she was like, okay, but can I have more pictures? And I was like, yeah, have as many pictures as you want. And she's like, I'm going to have a picture on every page. I was like, that's fine. And then she started drawing all the pictures, and she's like, Mom, this is taking forever. I said, well, you don't have to do a picture on every page. No, but I do. So it's so I thought that was funny. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even know I could paint until about 5 years ago. So it was hidden talent.
Well, now you need to start an Etsy. You start doing all kinds of paintings.
I for a while I was like, you know what, I'm going to do that, and I paint a bunch of stuff, and then it's really hard to do that with a lot of the competition, because there's just so many people out there that paint and that do stuff like that. I've sold a few paintings, like custom paintings, that was really awesome, but other than that, it's just not really worth my energy.
Well, also being the homeschool mom and teaching kids and chasing your 18-month-old and taking them to practice and doing blogs, I don't see how you have time for any of that stuff.
Right, that's true too.
Multitasking.
It's a skill.
Yeah.
It's definitely a skill.
Exactly.
So you just recently moved to, is it near Fredericksburg? Are you in Fredericksburg?
Yeah. I'm not in Fredericksburg. I'm actually in Spotsylvania County.
Okay. So, and you moved from Virginia Beach. How was that?
Yep.
How was that on you and the boys and the family and COVID time and all that stuff?
Oh my gosh, it was rough. It was rough because, the baby was COVID baby. So she came in July, the end of July, in 2020. And then Christmas that year, it was like Christmas Eve, my husband got the job offer to move. So,
oh, wow.
So like January, I feel like he came here in the middle of January. He came before us. So we had to get the house ready. We had to renovate and do any renovations we needed paint, get all the stuff ready to go on the market and get sold.
Right.
Because he started, I still feel like he started on the middle of January. He swears it was the end of January, but I could be off on my time. But we closed on the new house on February 17th. So,
that was fast.
It was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
It was very long days, very long nights. Thank God for my mother-in-law. She came over and hung out with the baby pretty much all day. The boys were stressed out and hectic, and we had to leave a lot of things behind that the kids loved, and that was really hard on them. My oldest son had a pond that he had built, and blood, sweat, and tears on that. He busted his butt building and maintaining this pond, and he had to tear it down.
Aww.
It was really, really hard on him. And my middle son, he had a really hard time adjusting. He's still having a hard time adjusting. But it wasn't just the move. It was all the things. It was COVID. The wrestling club that they were a part of shut down and never came back because it just couldn't. It was in a school, and there's so many limitations on it. Plus the coach retired. And so it was kind of just one hit after another.
Yeah.
And then we moved here, and we had nothing but problems. We had to live in a hotel. For the first few days we were here, my husband's catalytic converters got stolen at the hotel. So that was fun.
Goodness.
A whole other adventure. Our well had bacteria in it, and our water was orange for, I think, the first 2 months we lived here. So bathing a baby in that, you got to boil the water on the sink or boil the water on the stove and dump it in the sink.
Jeez.
Just to bathe the baby.
Yeah.
The septic needed replaced. It was chaos. So I think we're finally leveling out. We got the HVAC fixed now, so hopefully we won't have any more issues.
Yeah. Goodness.
But our new house has 8 acres, and we have woods, and we have chickens, and we have all the things we want. So
nice.
It can only go up from here.
Does he have his pond yet?
No. We're working on it. We weren't able to bring the same stuff with us because by the time we took it down, everything was we couldn't use it.
Yeah.
So we need to rebuild, which I'm hoping we'll be able to start that process spring, summer, and get it done for them. And we're also building a tree house in the backyard for them. So we started it in Christmas, and then we all got COVID, and then it snowed, and it hasn't stopped snowing every weekend.
Oh my goodness, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? It needs to be spring already.
Oh my gosh. The other day when it was 67 degrees outside, I was like, oh my gosh, I went out back and swept off the patio and sat outside for like 3 hours.
Oh, it was wonderful. I loved how warm it was, and then it just went downhill.
Yes, it has.
It's cold today.
Cold
I had
again.
to go to the RV for a minute, and I came in the house. I'm like, ugh. It was awful.
Yeah, it's like 29, I think, the last time I checked.
I got friends listening to this from Minnesota, and they're laughing, and
know.
Canada.
Right? And you're like,
But no, we're
that's
supposed
so
to be in the
cold.
South. We're supposed to be in the South.
Right.
This ain't right.
We lived in Minnesota for a year. My Kate was actually born in Minnesota.
Ugh.
And we moved back because my husband was like, I just can't handle it. And he lived in downtown, like he worked in downtown Minneapolis, and when he would go to work, like in the winter, it was like walls of snow on either side of the road because that's how much snow was piled up, like higher than his car.
Goodness.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, and I was like, I don't have to go anywhere. He's like, yeah, that's why you don't mind it. You could stay in the house all day if you want.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it at all.
I got the winter blues
Horrible.
this year because I had to stay inside too long. I used to walk the trails and jog the trails and, tinker around in the backyard and play on the trails and play in the tree house. And I was stuck inside for months on end. So
it's been a long winter.
It has.
Like, and I feel like it's been long and it's been very harsh.
Yeah.
I was wondering. I was like, man, I'm in a funk. Like the holidays kind of got me down, and I'm never down with the holidays. Like it was weird, but it was just the cold weather, and it was kind of like one thing after another was just kind of blah.
Yeah.
But
no, I understand. I think I get winter blues every year. It's just, I don't know. I'm not a winter person. I like my sunshine. I like the warmth. I much prefer spring and summer to winter.
She keeps saying she wants to go to Texas. She
Heck
wants to.
yes.
My friend just moved to Texas a couple years ago, and from Virginia Beach, and she loves it. She loves it.
I haven't heard anybody say they've moved to Texas and haven't liked it.
Regretted it.
I have never heard a single person say, I lived in Texas for a year and then we just had to leave because you just couldn't handle it, like Minnesota. I've never heard that. Never.
That is true. Definitely true.
Well, I talked to you a couple days ago at the get-together for the homeschool kids. Your middle boy and my little girl were playing in the arcade, and you and I sat there and talked for a long time. But tell Natalie about how you got the boys involved in wrestling and all that entailed. I thought that was kind of neat.
So, when you have kids that are split ages like that, I mean, they are 3 years apart. So at the time, one was 5, one was 8. And I was like, man, I really wish I could get them in something together, because otherwise you're going to be taking, I think if it's baseball or something, it's at least one practice a week and one game, and they'd be different. So it would be like 4.
Yeah.
Like really crazy. So I was like, man, I wish there was something I could do with them together. And our club president at the time happened to put a sign in my yard about a wrestling club starting at age 5. I was like, oh, isn't that handy? So we went and tried it out, and the kids loved it. And we just became a part of that club. Tallwood Wrestling Club was the best. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better place to start my kids off wrestling. It was just such a great experience. It built their love for it. They love the coach. I mean, they still talk about him, and it's been almost 2 years since they've even seen him. And it's just such a great sport, because my oldest has always been a poor sport. Like, we couldn't play, like, Uno with him, because he would throw a fit if he took his card or skipped him or whatever. Like, he was terrible. Like, we wouldn't even play games with him. And it was really hard because Keaton loves games. Like, he loves board games. He'd play them all day, every day. So wrestling, like, changed that, because it's you're the only one responsible for what happens out on that mat.
Mm-hmm.
You either do it or you don't. You either wrestle or you don't. And it's just, there's so many benefits to wrestling. Just their sportsmanship, their level of camaraderie with their teammates, the friendships they've built. It's just an amazing sport. And I never even really knew anything about wrestling until this. And it's been a journey, but wrestling season is definitely crazy when it hits. I mean, Caden wrestled a tournament on Saturday. Actually, he won the championship at top of the podium.
Oh, nice.
So he got first place, and then they wrestled in Newport News on Sunday. So when I say that, they left the house at 6 a.m. They got home at about almost 9 p.m.
Goodness.
Wow.
I mean, they stopped on the way home, so they technically would have gotten home by about 7:30 had they not stopped. But still, 6 a.m. to 7:30, and they were wrestling from 9 to 4, I think.
Wow.
So wrestling is not for the faint of heart. It is a commitment.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But it's for like 3 months where they just go hard. I mean, they wrestle 4 nights a week. They go wrestle 6 to 8, 4 nights a week, and then on the weekends they go to tournaments.
Wow.
And so it's a commitment, but they love it. And it's something they look forward to, and they're super healthy. I mean, I'm not going to say they eat right all the time, because that would be a big lie, but they work out every day, and it's not an easy workout. Like, the endurance aspect of it is insane.
Well, your oldest is also very much got his weight on his mind, too. My little girl had the Valentine's Day party, and she went to our magic class because, I'm babysitting her, I'm watching her. She just hung out in the back of my class, and went through her hoard of candy, and she had never seen a pixie stick before. And all the other kids, oh yeah, that's yummy. It's sugar, but I mean, it's yummy. And your son was like, yeah, I can't have those. I mean, I have to wrestle this weekend, and You know?
Aw.
It's like, wow.
Because once you commit to a weight class, like, okay, so he is in the 95th percentile for his age. So he has had to pretty much wrestle up his entire wrestling career. Right now, he's finally at a spot where he doesn't have to wrestle above his age bracket. So he's in, like, a normal age bracket is middle school. So he's a middle school age bracket. But he's at 130. So if he goes above that and he weighs in above that, the weight class either gets 140 or 145. So it bumps up quite a bit. So he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
When he could easily stay at the 130, he could probably make 126 if he would just stop eating all the crackers and the pretzels and the chips.
Right.
But, you know, that's a whole other level of commitment.
Yeah. For a kid, especially, yeah. Did they when they moved wrestling places, because you guys had to move, did they fit right in and really get in there and really like it, or were they kind of dragging their feet a little bit because it was a different place?
You know, it's been interesting. They actually got into a very big funk because at the end of the season that they last wrestled a full season, I mean, they were dominating all the local tournaments. They were winning first place. They were bumping up in weight class and age brackets because they were beating all the kids at their age.
Oh, wow.
So we were like, you know, we would bump them up because we're like, we don't want you to just slaughter everybody. We want you to actually wrestle and have to put in some effort.
Yeah.
So we were bumping them up, and they were happy with that. But when we moved and when COVID happened and all the things, they just kind of stopped winning. And it's not that they don't know what they're doing, but I don't know if they're freezing up on the mat or what is going on exactly. Because they just kind of got out of it. Like, they just have been losing more than they've been winning. But it's starting to turn around, I think, because Caden won his championship. He won first place a couple weeks ago also. And they have states coming up in a couple weeks.
Maybe it was just that big break of no wrestling. You have to get yourself back into the mindset, maybe, and really get back into it.
And the new club and the new coach and all the new people. And, I mean, I feel like they fit in pretty good, and I feel like they enjoy it. You know, it's just different. It's different than they're used to. The coach is different than they're used to. You know, they always compare, oh, well, Coach James would do this, and Coach James would do that. You know, and I'm like, well, unfortunately, that's not your coach. You got to listen to your current coach.
Right.
You know, I'm sure he knows what he's doing. You need to just buy into it. Just, you know, accept that this is where we're at.
Right. Yeah.
So it's been a struggle, but I think they're finally coming back from it, and they're finally really getting back into their own wrestling personality rather than what everybody wants them to be. And I told them that's really important, you know, because he's like, well, he keeps saying to do this differently, do that differently. I'm like, well, it's good to have different views, but when you go out on the mat, you do what feels right to you, because doing what feels right to him isn't going to help you on the mat.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just a mindset thing that I think they're really working through.
So how does it work with competition when you go as a club? They're cheering each other on, but does it really matter if somebody in your team wins or not? I mean, you want them to win because they're your friend, but
it depends on the tournament. Some tournaments you go as a team and you wrestle as a team. Like, it's like a duels where you're actually on a team and you guys wrestle in a lineup. It goes from smallest to biggest. You start at like 44 pounds or whatever, and you go all the way up. So you would wrestle another team that has the same weights. And then it definitely counts for team points. Other tournaments, you wrestle individually, and they still count team points. So you could still potentially affect the team score. And then others is you just root them on because they're your teammates.
Right.
Huh, that's interesting. I always thought it was an individual thing, and you're just happy for your teammates. I didn't know they did team stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
We didn't have wrestling at our high school, did you?
Yeah, but I never really paid much attention to it.
No, we didn't have it at ours.
Yeah, it was a small group of people that were wrestling in our school, but yeah, we did have it.
You know, it's funny because I actually had, my neighbor was a wrestler on the high school team when I was in high school, and I never connected the dots, like, to what that was.
Oh, yeah? That's so funny.
I wasn't interested in it. I was like, whatever. He's a wrestler. He wears that weird outfit.
Yeah. So what do you boys think about, okay, so they're in wrestling, which is real wrestling. What do they think about the WWE stuff? Are they like, oh, that's so fake, or are they into it? Because it's,
we haven't watched
sort of
much
wrestling.
of it. But the times we have watched it, my oldest is like, oh, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But then my youngest is like, oh, did you see him throw that chair?
That's funny.
So it just depends on the kid.
Yeah, gotcha. I was just curious because they're actually doing the wrestling, whereas these guys are like, not saying they don't get hurt from doing their stuff or whatever, but it's just.
But it's all show.
Yeah, it's all show, and it's not, So just curious, about that. So yeah, that's interesting. That's funny.
Yeah.
So, we had COVID twin babies. How was your COVID baby experience?
It was not fun. I had a scheduled C-section, and I was due to go in at like 12:30, I think, 1 o'clock, something like that. And they were like, you can eat this much time before, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. So I set my alarm. I got up super early so I could eat something because I knew it was going to be a long haul. And then they called me at like 8, and they were like, hey, can you come in early? And I was like, sure. So I packed everything up, went to the hospital. They hooked me up all my stuff that I needed to be hooked up to. And then they're like, when was the last time you ate? And I told them. And they were like, oh, well, we can't do the surgery right now because you have to wait until this time because you ate. I'm like, I was told to eat. Why didn't somebody ask me this question before I came into the hospital?
Right. Goodness.
So I sat in the intake room, hooked up to all the stuff. It was like the pre-surgery room or whatever, the recovery room. There's like 3 slots for beds. And I sat in there, and it was freezing, and I was miserable. My husband was with me, so that was good. I at least had him. Then somebody who was waiting for their babies to come out was next to me, and the husband was next to me, and he was eating. So I'm like, I literally haven't eaten in like hours. Why are you eating in here? And I told my husband, I was like, you need to go, and you need to find out what's going on. Finally, 4:30, they took me back.
Goodness. So not even at your scheduled time.
Yeah, not even. So supposedly the person before me had COVID, and they had to sanitize the entire room, however that happens, and they couldn't put me in a room. They had to have at least one open room in case of emergencies, and they only had 3 rooms.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that's what happened, and luckily everybody was safe and healthy, but it took way longer than I would have hoped for it to take. My first C-section, I was knocked out, so I didn't know anything. The second, I had a VBAC, so this was my second C-section, but I was awake, so the epidural worked.
Oh, cool.
And I didn't know what to expect. My arms were strapped down, and I'm like freezing in that room. And he's like, "Do you want more medicine?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." And then I had I guess my bladder wall from my previous C-section was like thinning or something, and so they had to sew it up. So that department came in and sewed it up. They left, and the stitch came out.
Oh no!
So then we're waiting for it had to have been at least 30 minutes for the guy to come back. And I'm like, the people are just kind of hanging out because I'm probably open on the table, and I have no idea. I can't see it, but I'm like freaking out about that thought.
Right.
And I'm like, the anesthesiologist is like, oh, so do you want something a little stronger? And I was like, no, I'm good. And then like a couple minutes later, I was like, yeah, you're gonna have to knock me out because I'm gonna have a panic attack.
Oh.
So I got knocked out, and the worst part of that was the nausea afterwards. After I woke up, I just couldn't stop getting sick for till the middle of the night.
Goodness.
But I have a happy, healthy baby girl, and we all made it through.
Yes, that's awesome.
We were telling baby stories, and I was pitiful on my end because I was like, yeah, our babies, they wait. I don't remember what my babies weighed. I couldn't remember halfway through the sentence.
Julian was 5 pounds 7 ounces, and Lex was 6 pounds 12 ounces. So for twins, they were yes, but for twins they were good sized babies. So usually twins are fairly small. So they were they were good-sized babies for twins, and we made it to 37 weeks, which they were very happy with. You know, they say for twins, you're full term at 36, they can come out.
Oh, wow.
But, you know, the longer they stay in, the better. But, you know, at 36 weeks, I was like, all right, boys, 36 weeks, come on, let's go.
Right.
But I made it to 37, so that was good. I was able to do all natural, and it was all over with within 5 hours. And by the time I got to the hospital, I was so dilated that the anesthesiologist was like, if some emergency happens, I can't give you an epidural. I have to knock you out. So I was like, okay. So like if they had to do emergency C-section for some reason, there's no option for me to be awake because I was too far along. So I was like, okay, well, hopefully that doesn't happen, but gotcha. And yeah. And it was just,
wow.
I tell people it's night and day different experience from when I had Lana and when I had the twins. Because when you have twins, you are required to be in an OR. Whether or not you have vaginal birth or C-section, you have to be in the OR just in case. And with Lana, I did all natural with her as well. And it was a darkened room, and it was quiet, and we had, you know, it was just the doctor and one nurse and my husband. And for the boys, it was this huge operating room, bright lights, my doctor, a backup doctor, anesthesiologist just in case, a nurse for each baby, a nurse for me. And I'm like, there's so many people. I mean, it's such a big difference between having a singleton and having twins. But Lana took 18 and a half hours. These boys took 5. I was happy with that. So
I would be happy with that too. Yeah, Kate or Zachary, my first, he just never, I guess it's failure to progress. Because I was induced a week early because I had high blood pressure, and then he had failure to progress after like 14 hours, I think it was.
Oh, goodness.
And the doctor's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, just get him out. Because my epidural didn't work. I was throwing up the entire time. I was like, I just cannot anymore.
Yeah. Aww.
So that they knocked me out because my epidural didn't work. So knocked me out, and I woke up and I'm like, are you sure that's fine?
No.
That was like my first words. So I'm like, oh gosh.
That's funny. Oh.
Well, when Natalie says she homeschools and had natural childbirth, it sounds like she's some kind of hippie. But she said
I have such different reasons for both. Yeah.
1 out of a million people end up like paralyzed or something, right? What is this?
I don't know. It's not common, but yeah, you end up paralyzed because they hit the wrong spot or something. And I'm like, yeah, that would be my luck. That would be my luck, that I get an epidural, and that's what would happen. Plus, just the thought of a needle going next to your spine just gives me the heebie-jeebies. So if I could avoid it, I wanted to avoid it. So I went and I took Bradley birthing classes for Lana, and that's what we did for the boys, but it was so fast that not much really, there wasn't much into it. But yeah, that was my reason for not wanting any medication. The greatness of not have any side effects for baby, for me, that's all well and good, but my main reason was I didn't want a needle in the back.
Right? So. Yeah, it's a big needle. It's like it's very intimidating. Yes. I don't know if the needle's necessarily big, but what it's attached to is big.
Yeah.
So it's very intimidating. And you're like, oh gosh, and then you have to like sit up and bend forward, and that's almost impossible when you're pregnant. Right.
Yes. Yeah. That was my main reason. That's why I was like, I got to try the all natural route because I'm scared out my mind to get an epidural. So, yeah, that was my reasoning.
As scary as it is. So.
Well, and now I never have to find out because we are done. So I don't have to worry about it anymore. Huh?
This time for real. I said, we're done too. Yeah. This time for real.
Yeah. So, yep. But, it's all worth it. So, it's all good.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
No matter how they get in the world, as long as they're healthy and happy and everything's good, I think that's the main point. So
I agree.
Yes.
Completely.
So what are all the classes do your kids take at the school? And that's just electives, right? I mean, you don't send them there for everything. It's just electives?
Yeah, no, it's just some classes that they want to take. We really haven't done too many classes. Caden did a bird class last week or the week before. He really liked that. It was like the Wild Birds Unlimited or whatever it's called. Birds Unlimited or something like that. They did it, and they made a bird feeder, and they talked all about the birds, and he came and lectured me about how I need to drink shade coffee, and we need to put tape on our windows, and all these fun facts of what I need to do to make the birds safe.
Oh, goodness.
And he takes a herpetology class that he absolutely loves.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we pretty much
really
just signed Lana up for the preteen thing, and we did the Valentine stuff, just the one day things, just because with our schedule I don't feel like we can commit to weeks of classes. So that's why I really like this Reach program, because they have the classes, but then they also offer the field trips and the parties and the teen
the fun
clubs.
stuff too.
Yeah. So I really like that.
And if there's classes on a Wednesday that, I'm already there, that means Natalie's already booked around everything else for me to be there, so Lana can take those.
Yeah.
But
that makes sense.
We just haven't seen anything that
interests her to really want to take a class for weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. Well, if you ever bring her to the class, the spy class, let me know, and Caden can hang out with her, because he wants to hang out.
Oh, sweet.
Awesome.
Nice.
He's like, we need to do a play date.
And I signed her up for the Easter egg thing already.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Oh, yes, they're
Easter
having
egg
Easter.
thing.
It's like April 6th or something like that. Yep,
Okay.
she'll be there. And
All
hopefully
right,
she'll
then
be
check
at the
that
next
out.
preteen thing, too. I just haven't...
I don't know that
Wes-
we're doing that one.
Wes,
But-
I haven't gotten Wes to say yes or no yet, so...
Well, what we have to
Yeah.
do is get you guys over here. We got
Yeah.
a tree house. I got an axe throwing wall. I got a BB gun
Oh.
range. I got magic room and hidden passageways in the magic room, and
Oh my gosh.
we could do
it's
lunch
like
or something.
A field day for the boys.
They love, and Lana would have a blast
Yeah.
hanging out with
Yeah, well,
Caden
let me
too.
know. We'll set it up.
Absolutely.
So, real quick before we get off, how does the butterfly setup work? I think Lana would love that. And
Like to
and Natalie,
actually
my
set it up.
wife. I mean, we had to have butterflies at our wedding. My wife loves butterflies.
Yes.
She'd be into it too.
It was butterfly theme at our wedding. Mm-hmm.
Milkweed. Lots and lots of milkweed.
Oh, okay.
Get lots and lots and lots of milkweed, and put it outside in a sunny area, and it should attract them. Make sure you get like organic GMO milkweed, though, because I've had both kinds, and because that's what I could find,
Mm-hmm.
and the natural stuff, the good stuff, definitely attracted more.
Okay.
But sometimes you might not even see the butterflies, so you have to check for the eggs, and they lay them underneath the leaf. Like, they're really hard to see, they're really little, and they're white, like a white, like palish, greenish white. So if you look under the leaves, or actually I think they're yellowish, sorry. If you look under the leaves, you should be able to find them.
So did you just take the leaf and...
No, I would actually, sometimes we would cover the whole plant outside.
Oh,
if it wasn't in a pot, we'd cover the whole plant, like with one of those pop-up laundry baskets,
Uh-huh.
Or if it was in a pot, we'd just bring it in the house, and we had one of those butterfly habitat things that they make.
Okay. Very cool. Okay.
You can get that on Amazon.
I was
guess.
imagining you doing
Yeah, you can get
something,
it on Amazon.
small, like taking a leaf and putting it in a mason jar and watching them grow. But
Well,
no,
when
it's much bigger than
When
that.
they hatch, like, they're going to have that milkweed to eat. I mean,
Right.
they can go through a plant in no time. So,
Oh,
like,
wow.
the more milkweed plants you have, the better.
Okay.
Because they will eat those leaves really quickly.
And are,
So
are
you
you
have
getting
to
that at a nursery?
Yeah, you can get them in a nursery.
you have to rebuy them every year, or do they regrow?
Sometimes they'll regrow, like, they won't regrow the same plant, but the seeds will drop and they'll grow again.
Okay.
So, but most times I would just rebuy them because I just never had success with growing them myself.
Yeah. Okay. That
I think it
sounds
was
like
the
me.
dirt.
I have any plants that we get. I'm like, here you go, Wes. You take care of it. Otherwise, it's gonna die.
My friend had like a raised garden bed, and she just planted like a ton of milkweed in it, and it got really tall, and like there were tons of caterpillars on it, tons. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing at the
Cool.
new house, because we haven't dove into that yet.
Well, that's neat.
Well, we need to look into that.
yeah,
what
I
we'll
think Lana
do-
would really like that.
We'll have you guys come over for lunch. We'll hang out, and you can tell us how to do it, because I really want to do it. And I don't even know what a milkweed looks like.
I'm sure you can look it up.
Oh, I can Google it, but
It's a beautiful thing about Google.
there you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
Exactly.
All right, guys. So we're about out of time, Leah. We got
All right.
leahstine.com, LeahStine.com for those blog posts about your podcast, for your podcast. Your children's book is on Amazon. One more time, say the name of that one.
A Boy and His Butterfly.
And stay tuned when her new book comes out. She's going to let me know, and I'm going to post that on my Twitter and social media as well, because that's what I do.
You.
I help my friends promote.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap everything up?
I don't think so. Just thanks for having me, and I enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah.
You were awesome. And like I said, when we get off the air here, stay on the line. We're going to do a couple plugs, but Natalie's going to talk to you about setting up a play date. It'll be fun.
Okay, cool.
So on March 5th from 5:30 to 7:30, I will be performing close-up magic at your table while you enjoy a multi-course meal. This will be taking place at the Lafayette Inn in Standardsville, Virginia. And tickets sell out each year, so make your reservations today by visiting LafayetteInn.com. And our television show, Wes Iseli's Magiclife, has been picked up by Golden Media Syndication, and it's now syndicated across the country. If you can't find it on your local cable, go to Roku if you have a Roku, look for Nudu, and then look for Wes Iseli's Magiclife, and you can find it there. And thanks, everybody, for purchasing our merch at wesisley.com. It really does help. That's logo t-shirts, our Magiclife t-shirts, Magic Man hats, stickers, playing cards, and more. See you next week. Check us out online at wesisley.com and patreon.com/Wes_Iseli for behind-the-scene videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled WESISELI.